is Garen, and today I'd like to talk to you about the benefits of legalizing prostitution in the United States. Prostitution is the business or practice of engaging in sexual activity in exchange for money or some other kind of benefit. Prostitution is also described as sex or hooking. A person who works in this field is called a prostitute and is a kind of sex worker. Prostitution is not the only kind of sex work out there. There's pornography, stripping, and erotic dancing. It's sometimes referred to as the world's oldest profession. The professional guess on the annual revenue that is generated by prostitution worldwide is over $100 billion. Currently, there are only 8 counties in the United States that have made prostitution legal. All 8 counties are located in Nevada. Today, like I said, I would like to talk about the many reasons why the United States should follow suit from other countries and make prostitution legal. Prostitution is obviously a touchy subject, and I'm here to explain why prostitution should be legal, not just in those few counties in Nevada, but the entire United States. To start off by talking about benefits. There are many benefits to making prostitution legal in the entire United States. For starters, it would reduce violence against women because the vast majority of prostitutes in America are in fact women, and they are vulnerable to violence from customers and people that are supposed to be protecting them, their pimps. A study in San Francisco on prostitutes working in the city found that 82% had been assaulted and 68% had been raped while working as prostitutes. There's another study of prostitutes in Colorado Springs. That study found that the prostitutes were 18 times more likely to be murdered than prostitutes of their same age and race. Prostitutes who are victims of violence will be reluctant to call the cops since what they're doing is absolutely illegal. But prostitutes in the licensed brothels in Nevada can have somebody to back them up in case of trouble. By doing this legally, they can have the protection of police. Brothel owners of the current legal brothels in Nevada have a clear interest in maintaining their image as law-abiding, trouble-free, and professional businesses to keep their licenses and maintain good relations with their communities and, of course, the law. Owners of these brothels have mentioned in many interviews several times, and they have all said that they call the police at the slightest hint of trouble to send a message that they don't tolerate bad behavior in their businesses. They want to protect their employees and maintain a good reputation as a clean, safe, and overall professional environment. Studies of legal brothels have shown that they offer the safest environment available for women to sell consensual acts of sex for money. I'd like to move on to talk about the health of the prostitutes now. Legalization would make sex workers healthier. Illegal street prostitutes might face pressure from pimps and clients to not use condoms, but Nevada can require sex workers to use condoms and get tested for sexually transmitted diseases because, like I've said, they've made prostitution legal in those 8 counties. Sex workers in Nevada have to get monthly tests for syphilis and HIV and weekly tests for gonorrhea and chlamydia. Nevada also requires condoms for all sex and brothels. This law is posted also outside of the state brothels in those counties. Making sex work a crime can drive prostitutes underground and make them less likely to practice safe sex and get tested for sexually transmitted diseases. And obviously this is bad for themselves and for their clients and future clients. The United Nations Development Program published a report on illegal sex work in Asia and the Pacific that made it clear just how damaging the criminalization of sex work can be to women's health. And I'd like to read a quote from the report. Criminalization increases vulnerability to HIV by fueling stigma and discrimination, limiting access to HIV and sexual health services, condoms and harm reduction services, and adversely affecting the self-esteem of sex workers and their ability to make informed choices about their health. Legal prostitution can be a source of tax revenue. While brothels in Nevada pay no state taxes currently, they pay significant amounts of tax to the rural counties where they do business. The reason why Nevada voted for no state tax from brothels is because the Republicans did not want schools and other state services funded by sex work. Illegal prostitution businesses in the United States obviously do not pay taxes. If those brothels were legalized, then the state and county governments could gain significant revenue, as we've seen from the Nevada brothels. I'd like to move on to how prostitution being legal could save resources. Legalization could save resources. Investigations into public figure clients of prostitutes, for instance, the former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, is a perfect example of how costly it can be to look into prostitution cases. In this case of the former New York governor, law enforcement wiretapped 5,000 phone conversations, intercepted 6,000 emails, and used surveillance and undercover tactics that are most commonly used for trapping terrorists and not prostitute clients. They were using extreme measures, extremely valuable resources. Every resource used going after prostitutes, pimps, and clients is resources that can be used to go after real criminals, terrorists, rapists, etc. But instead, these resources are used to go after consenting adults involved in a business transaction. Legal prostitutes could get their labor rights that they deserve and legally. Employed people in the United States get rights like minimum wage, freedom from discrimination, and a safe work environment. Prostitutes do not get any of that since prostitution is illegal. Prostitution isn't going anywhere anytime soon. As I stated before, prostitution is said to be one of the oldest professions. There will always be lonely or kinky men in the United States who will pay for sex, and there will always be women willing to or having to rent out their bodies. Prostitution has been a part of our culture for a long time. It's featured in movies, television shows, and music. The United States legalize and regulate a ton of things that have been controversial in the past, such as gambling, alcohol, tobacco, lap dancing. That's including strip clubs, marijuana, and pornography. I talked a lot about the benefits of legalizing prostitution, but now I'd like to talk to and address the counter-arguments from people who continue to believe that it should still be illegal. Big reasons why people believe that prostitution should remain illegal are that they think legalizing prostitution would lead to increases in sexually transmitted diseases, increase in the amount of human trafficking, and increase in violent crimes committed on prostitutes, like rape and murder. They believe that prostitution is immoral, exploitive, and gives power and fuel to criminals and gangs, and promotes the repression of women by men. And to that I say that these are all valid points. All these examples are possibilities and risks to absolutely not take lightly. I believe that it is clear, though, that the benefits that I've listed throughout this presentation far outweigh these risks. I think that if it became legal, the violence would actually go down, the STD rate would go down, and rape and murder would most certainly go down because all prostitutes would be protected by the state. I would like to wrap up with this closing statement. Prostitution is currently an illegal form of work in the majority of the United States. Despite that, there are still many prostitutes working in illegal brothels and street corners, and we are all quite aware of that. Prostitution is a line of work that has been around for thousands of years. It is here to stay. It is proven that it is not going away. We as Americans should help women that may be joining this line of work because they have no other way to support themselves or maybe their child or children. Prostitutes are still people. I think we forget that sometimes. They are still people. People that are trying to make a living just like anyone else. We need to protect these people by making prostitution legal.